Now, it's not often that the Prime Minister is drawn into an argument about baking. This week he was, after a Christian bakery in Northern Ireland refused to make a cake in support of gay marriage. Well, the customer complained to the Equality Commission, which is investigating whether he had actually been discriminated against based on his sexual orientation. It comes as the British Dance Council revealed proposals to have mixed-sex-only competitions as well as same-sex-only. So, has the battle for gay rights been won or not? And does free speech extend to turning away those who are gay? John Church and Alex Sawal have danced together for 4 years competitively. News that they may not be able to compete against mixed-sex couples concerns them.
Many of these people wouldn't like change of a footstep in a particular dance step, let alone changing the gender of the person that you're dancing with.
The British Dance Council will debate a rule change defining a partnership as being one man and one lady, unless otherwise stated. This would allow dance organisers to host mixed-sex-only competitions if they wish to. Currently, same-sex dance couples can enter both same-sex and mixed-sex dance categories.
We've been pleasantly surprised when we go to competitions. Fellow competitors are convivial and welcoming.
There have been a few jeers and there have been a few negative comments, but we're very thick-skinned and we can take that.
In June, thousands lined the streets of London for the annual Gay Pride Parade, calling for an end to discrimination. It's a charge that's been levelled at one Belfast bakery this week, who refused to make a cake urging support for gay marriage because of their religious beliefs.
I'd like the outcome of this to be that any Christians running a business could be allowed to follow their Christian beliefs and principles in the day-to-day running of their business, and that they're allowed to make decisions based on that.
Last year, the Supreme Court dismissed an appeal by bed and breakfast owners Peter and Hazel Mary Bull that they acted within the law after they refused a room to a gay couple. The Bulls argued that they wouldn't let any couple stay who weren't married based on their Christian belief. So, are the rights of some being sidelined as the campaign for gay rights takes centre stage? For dancers Alex and John, any potential change to the competition rules are not going to stop them pursuing their hobby.
We will continue whatever happens with this rule, but it means now dancing, if the rule does go ahead, will change in its form and its content, and that would be a great shame. The British Dance Council says it stands for equality in all areas of society. It goes on, that includes sexuality. It's simply levelling the playing field across all competitions. Let's talk to Andrew Pearce on this. Where do you stand? Is it right, firstly, on the bakery example, to turn away gay customers?
Well, they're not turning away them because they're gay. They turn them away because the slogan they wanted to put on the cake, "From Queer Space," they suspected was going to be used in some form of political campaign, and they didn't support gay marriage. Now, remember, Northern Ireland has not legalised gay marriage. And actually, it's not equal marriage anyway. Don't be kidded by this. We were being used as a political football, gay people like me and B, because it's the only equality legislation I know which writes into the legislation you cannot get married in a church, you cannot get married in a mosque, you cannot get married in a temple. So here you have people trying to do their job and they're being, the full force of the law is being brought to them about a cake. I can't believe this is happening. When I marched for gay equality in the late 80s against Section 28 for an equal age of consent, I didn't think the full force of the law would be used to attack people who are just trying to get on with their lives. They're not saying gays can't cross my threshold. If they were, that would be a breach of the law and it would be unacceptable. They're just saying we ain't going to be used in a political campaign. And what's wrong with that? So, B, it's not that they're saying no gay customers allowed in our shop. What they're saying is we object to the principle of gay marriage, which Andrew says is not in Northern Ireland anyway, and therefore we're not going to make the cake. What's wrong?
The great thing about bigotry that's embarrassed by itself, or that's kind of resisting, in this case, you know, one of the great cultural revolutions of our time, our lives have been transformed in our adult lives by this great movement, is that it has to find an alibi or some tatty old excuse. And so what happens in a situation like this is it's not the gay customer, it's the gay cake. What is it about the gay cake?
Because it's promoting something that Christians don't agree
well, this then
with,
raises another issue. If you are in the business of selling goods and services then I'm afraid you're in the business of confronting the world as it is. And I'm really sorry, but we're talking about a location in these islands that is the most patriarchal, sectarian and sexist in these islands. And really this whole controversy, it may seem silly, but actually it will really help them sort themselves out about this.
OK, so it may seem silly, Rabbi Romain, but what it shows is that perhaps while equality might have changed, that some of society's attitudes haven't caught up with it.
Yes, I think what we're in is a transition period, and there's a lot of people who've got a disconnect between the intellect and the emotion. In other words, intellectually, most people think it is right that gay people should be treated absolutely equally, and I certainly endorse it. I endorse it from a religious perspective. You know, gay people don't become gay, they are born gay, and therefore from a religious perspective, God created people gay. Therefore it should be 100% equality.
It's not what all Christians believe.
Well, I know, but there we go.
What, you just dismiss their views? Because
no, because I think a lot of religious people have actually come round, just like we used to have slavery in the Bible, we didn't have women's rights. We've moved on, and morality is never static, morality is always ongoing. The problem is, and I think this is what this bakery and the ballroom dancing highlights, is that although we agree intellectually, emotionally, not everyone's quite caught up with it, and there's a sort of disconnect. I'm sure we're going to get there, although in fact I have no doubt that once you're in the public domain, baking cakes for sale or competitive dancing, then there has to be complete equality.
Complete equality, Rosie?
I salute the gay movement, and I think actually women could learn a lot from it, because, you know, it insists on complete equality everywhere, and I agree completely with B. If you are a commercial enterprise and you're selling cakes, you have to sell cakes. It's not the morality doesn't come into it, frankly, unless you're asking for a cake with something on it which is illegal, like "please murder my mother" or something, you know, which is obviously madness. But you know, women, however, allow all sorts of things. You know, the Garrick Club, I can't be a member of it because I'm female. It's a nonsense.
So you think gay rights have progressed further than
I think they have, and I think the women's liberation, women's equality should take a lesson from the gay movement and actually start knocking out things like mad restrictions on women in golf clubs or various bars, and which is just deeply offensive and wrong.
What about this issue, Andrew, with the dancing? Who'd have thought that the homophobia would be levelled at ballroom dancing?
Is anyone really suggesting the world of ballroom dancing is homophobic? Just look at it, for heaven's sake. It's the world of sequins, and they're just on the boys' costumes. Watch Strictly Come Dancing. There's Bruno on the judges' panel, Craig on the judges' panel. And look, I'm a huge fan of Christopher Biggins. He's big, larger-than-life comedian, very gay. If he goes on Strictly Come Dancing, which he might because he won the Jungle programme, is he going to have to dance with a man? I pity the man because he'll have to throw him around. He's going to have a very bad back. The fact is, physically, it's giving huge advantages to two men, and it's just silly, really. It's a piece of silly nonsense.
Why? Isn't it just about
it's not
poise
silly.
and how they hold themselves? It's not necessarily about strength.
I went to watch Strictly Come Dancing. The man who threw Anne Widdecombe around that stage, it wasn't just about poise and elegance, it was about a bit of brute strength, trust me.
Well, it might have to be. It might have to be in that instance. The thing that's hilarious, again, it's another of these cases where a bit of daft, reckless, unthought-out bigotry reveals something really interesting. What they're saying here is one man and one lady, right? So what happens if you've got two ladies dancing together? Is the strength argument remotely relevant? I think, lovingly, of my dear old late friend May and her great friend Alice, who used to go dancing together. They were widows, as it happens, but who was to know?
Actually,
were they going to be banned?
I think you're being a bit precious here, actually, if you don't mind me saying so, because it's not really about sexuality.
It is.
No, it's not. It's to do with strength and stamina.
Yes,
I tell you what the British Dance Council say it's about is there are same-sex competitions and there are mixed-sex competitions. And if you can have same-sex only competitions, you should be allowed to have mixed-sex only competitions as well.
It's the fact that we, as gays, now think we've got to have the laws all got to be in our direction. So if we're having only same-sex competitions, why can't you have just
you've got,
male and female
because
competitions?
You've got
because it treats the law the same.
Probably the bigger ones.
You've got same-sex competitions because gays have been excluded from.
Not from ballroom dancing, B, trust me.
They have been, actually.
OK, all right.
Trust me, there's a lot there.
I want to go to Belfast and bring in David Smith from the Evangelical Alliance. Good morning, David. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Do you think that Christians have the right to be offensive?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
I said, do you think Christians have the right to be offensive if they don't like
Christians have
gay
the right
people?
to be offensive? OK, sorry. If we go to this case and the principle of freedom of conscience. I think this case could have been triggered by any number of religious or political circumstances. In this instance, about gay marriage, I think there's a perception among Christians that the public square is being policed, you know, in terms of guarding the new social orthodoxy. Even in Northern Ireland, where marriage is still legally defined as between a man and a woman. So in this circumstance, there's no offence being intended by Christians by refusing to put a message on a cake.
OK, David, thank you very much. Rabbi
I think the
Romain,
real
what do you make
division
of that?
actually is between social and competitive. In social dancing, in a hotel, pub or club, it should be open to everybody in all sorts of permutations. If it's competitive, then I think it's actually fair enough for the sport to set its own rules, because you're talking about prizes and titles and awards, which is why we have separate men and women for tennis and football and hockey and all sorts of things. So I think that's a crucial distinction.
OK,
But what is this argument about? Are lesbians, who presumably a lesbian couple do not command, you know, as if it were relevant, the strength, whatever, that two men
They've
do?
got their
Are they-
competition already.
We're going to have to leave this one, although it could go on. Thank you very much. We have other issues to debate as well.